When they were here last time, him and Chrisean was pregnant. Y'all were doing all that smoking and drinking here in the thing.
My son's medical records leaking and everybody seeing and hearing about what's on them does not cancel her. I don't know what else at this point will. Like, somebody needs to get that little boy out of her care and get him out of her care quick. I tried to give Chrisean the benefit of the doubt because, you're not always the best parent. Not everybody is the best parent, but they might be the best parent for that child. No, she's not the best parent at all. Like, seeing what's on these medical records is making me sick. Like, mind y'all, he didn't ask to be here and she did not have to have him.
She's asking fans for prayers. Chrisean Rock, she's back in the news. Mind you, we haven't been talking about Chrisean in a while. But she's back, and she's turning her life around after Blueface, because now apparently this week they're off. While Blueface remains in a California prison, Chrisean is trying to convince us that she's moving on from Blue Circus as she finds herself back in the church. And she's been seen crying and singing in church with a new song called Yahweh, on which she reveals that she's left her old life to serve the Lord. However, after she pulled on the internet's heartstrings, she later appeared on a live stream and said that if Blueface is ready to be serious, she'll unfollow everyone and tattoo him on the other side of her face.
In the history of the Chrisean Rock circus, this is the darkest time. And this time, it's not about arguments, fights, or unpleasant feuds on social media. It is related to her child. When stunning leaks of Junior's medical records started to surface, everyone was taken aback by Jason Lee's unnerving confirmation. Although the diagnosis is disheartening, Chrisean Rock and Junior's health issues are much more severe than anyone ever imagined. But this is what everyone finds repulsive. Why has Chrisean Rock asked for prayers instead of transparency while keeping quiet about this illness? What precisely is she hiding? How deep is this rabbit hole really? When Chrisean Rock publicly requested her fans to pray for her child for the first time, she suddenly shifted her focus from the absurdity of the Blueface soap opera to church and faith. Additionally, people have been concerned about this pregnancy from the beginning. Fans remember the live feeds where Chrisean Rock was seen showing off her stomach while smoking blunts and drinking large amounts of alcohol. She even advised other women on the internet that drinking and smoking were okay during pregnancy. That reckless act was not simply denounced. Outraged doctors and advocates issued warnings about the dangers of fetal alcohol syndrome and withdrawal symptoms in infants. With Jason Lee's confirmation fueling the allegations, fans are now asking if Chrisean Rock's choices throughout her pregnancy contributed to Junior's hazardous condition. It could be time for the circus to settle down. But the questions surrounding this family are only becoming more urgent. One of the most disturbing moments came when Chrisean Rock was so intoxicated during a live interview that security had to forcibly remove her from the studio. Her supporters were shocked, offended, and embarrassed when the footage went viral. As the uproar intensified, comedian Charleston White crossed the line by cruelly betting that Chrisean Rock's child would be born with medical issues.
5,000, I say somebody tag Blueface. Somebody tag Blueface and Chrisean Rock. I got $5,000 that they have a retarded baby. If it ain't gonna be retarded, it's gonna be autistic. Or if it ain't be autistic, it's gonna be a mute baby.
His remarks only poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Despite being trapped in a toxic cycle, Blueface surprisingly defended Chrisean Rock after a video surfaced showing her smoking marijuana while pregnant. He claimed on X that many women smoke throughout pregnancy and that it has no real impact. His statements were widely condemned as reckless and dangerous by mothers and medical professionals, triggering another wave of backlash. Just when supporters thought the situation could not worsen, the paternity circus took center stage. Blueface publicly accused Chrisean Rock of infidelity and claimed she'd been involved with multiple men while pregnant. He even suggested that Ronnie Doe could be the real father. In a post on X, Blueface doubled down, stating, "To answer your questions, Rock and I have officially parted ways. It's all business. I tested it and it was clearly not giving." Before she announces that she is not carrying my child, but someone else's. That revelation sent shockwaves through the internet. Suddenly, concerns extended beyond the baby's health to whether Blueface was actually the father. The situation spiraled into a scandal no one could have predicted. Fueled by leaked footage, careless accusations, and non-stop chaos. Blueface continued attacking Chrisean Rock, alleging she'd been involved with 10 different men in the past year. "Until I see DNA tests, then it's not mine," he stated. When that accusation landed, Chrisean Rock quickly responded. She accused Blueface of being controlling and insecure after she traveled to Baltimore without informing him. She explained that she was with her family, not in Los Angeles with Stunna Girl as previously claimed. She described how Blueface repeatedly bombarded her phone with questions, unable to handle being left alone for even a single day. Although she laughed it off, the hostility between them was undeniable. After Junior was born, the narrative shifted from relationship drama to genuine medical concern. Fans began noticing alarming signs in images and videos of the newborn. Observers pointed out low-set ears, wrinkles near the eyes, and persistently wide lips. Online discussions exploded, with forums debating whether Junior's high-pitched cries were symptoms of cru chat syndrome or signs of alcohol withdrawal caused by Chrisean Rock's substance use during pregnancy. Medical professionals and advocates urged restraint and proper testing rather than internet speculation.
If you guys seen, Chrisean Jr.'s baby has been confirmed to be blind, completely blind. And I silently watched her journey when she was pregnant. I never followed Chrisean before that. I never followed Blueface. I never followed any of that. Those people, their stories, their situations. But while she was pregnant, we all know there was she was going on a million different podcasts and creators videos, and she would be heavily drinking when she was pregnant. So when the baby did come, a lot of people, me included, there was a lot of speculation that was going around that the baby had fetal alcohol syndrome, or there was something else, and I can't place my finger on the other condition people heavily speculated that the baby had. Either way, people could tell the baby's not hitting milestones. And if you do hindsight 2020, if you do look back of the videos that she did post with Chrisean Jr., you could see the baby doesn't trace with his eyes like he's supposed to. Just so certain things that a normal toddler or baby his ages, as he was getting older, those milestones weren't being hit.
But the internet refused to let go. Then came the bombshell. A user claiming insider knowledge alleged that Junior's symptoms clearly pointed to fetal alcohol syndrome. That claim caused an explosion across social media. Fans demanded answers and urged Chrisean Rock to prioritize medical intervention over denial. What began as another toxic celebrity feud suddenly transformed into a heartbreaking discussion about a child's future. Many believe Chrisean Rock's excessive drinking and smoking during pregnancy directly contributed to Junior's developmental struggles. Carissa Saffel, Blueface's mother, broke down publicly, describing the pain of watching her grandson face potential health challenges. That emotional moment convinced many viewers that the family was hiding a devastating truth they were not ready to confront.
Later, how is Junior doing?
He's great. He's growing.
Amen.
I've been keeping him off the internet on purpose. So, just give him.
Instead of settling down or dealing with the storm, Chrisean Rock shocked everyone by getting Blueface's face tattooed on her cheek while her child was under close scrutiny. The choice was criticized as risky and tone-deaf right away, starting a fresh round of criticism. On the internet, T.I. Kemp, who has never held back when criticizing celebrities, assaulted Chrisean Rock. She chastised her for putting the welfare of her child before chasing toxic relationships. Because Junior hadn't started to crawl or hold up his body as babies should have by then, T.I. Kemp put a lot of pressure on her about his missed developmental milestones. We are searching for standards. What are you doing? We want to see if he's crawling because by now he should be able to support his body. I can let you know. Do you believe what your mother is saying? I'm hoping he's looking up. T.I. Kemp's comments resonated deeply and raised questions about whether Chrisean Rock was prioritizing the wrong things. Months after criticizing Chrisean Rock's parenting during her pregnancy, T.I. Kemp intensified her efforts by pointing out that Junior had not yet started to walk or run and suggesting that a serious problem might be keeping him from doing so. Discussion on social media spread like wildfire, adding to the already massive amount of speculation. Chrisean Rock responded in total disbelief in spite of everything that was happening. She vehemently denied that Junior was having any problems and maintained that her baby boy was well. In an interview with Danza Project, she addressed naysayers by saying, "He's great. He's growing. I have kept him off the internet on purpose, but because the internet is always scrutinizing every image and video that is posted, and her every move further fuels the fires, the worries just won't go away." For weeks, Chrisean Rock persisted in her determination to keep Junior off the internet. "He's great," she said, looking straight into the camera, ignoring the critics during her sit-down on the Danza Project. "He's growing. I have purposefully kept him off the internet." She made sure to underline that she was positive her son was doing fine. The unexpected turn of events came next. Chrisean Rock's denial was irreversibly disproved when a leaked medical report surfaced online. The document appears to confirm the gossip that has been going around among her supporters and critics ever since she became pregnant. Junior was battling serious health problems. Many immediately connected the article that detailed the child's fragile condition to Chrisean Rock's substance use during her pregnancy, particularly her very visible live streaming in which she was caught drinking and smoking. There was more to the record leak. It revealed what experts and internet researchers had long feared: fetal alcohol syndrome among many other problems. Even worse questions were raised by it. The details painted a tragic image of a pregnancy that seemed to lack proper prenatal care, with accusations of exposure to drugs like opiates and possibly cocaine. What many had written off as gossip suddenly became much more somber and grave, while some fans filled comment sections with outrage and calls for accountability. Others expressed sadness that an innocent boy was suffering because of his mother's choices. Some even supported family intervention, arguing that someone had to step in before things got out of hand. The story became even more of a circus when Chrisean Rock altered the course of events with her own explosive charges just as the internet was in shock over these terrible revelations. Chrisean Rock didn't hold back when she presented her most startling allegations to date: that Blueface had physically mistreated her while she was pregnant. When she was 7 months pregnant, he allegedly threatened to kill her and their unborn child. She remembered his horrifying words, "If you get up, your stomach will bleed. I'm going to kill this baby. You'll be bleeding for a month." She even said that he had struck her with a car when she was still pregnant. These violent events were more than simply traumatic events for Chrisean Rock. They were directly related to Junior's medical problems. But not everyone accepted her account. Blueface's mother, Carissa Saffold, hurried to the aid of her now incarcerated son. She shifted the conversation by asserting that Chrisean Rock was the true aggressor in their toxic relationship. Carissa Saffold remarked, "Here he is sitting there just doing the time like it was his problem and his fault. We're trying to give him more things because he isn't complaining." She made it clear to the world that Blueface's other two children were born healthy and blamed Junior's ailment on Chrisean Rock's way of life. She continued to smoke, drink, and party despite medical and familial advice to the contrary. It wasn't just family members that raised their voices. Prominent media figure Jason Lee also expressed his opinions, seeming more like a mentor than a critic. He suggested that Chrisean Rock stop delaying the problem and prioritize her own and her son's health. She was often spotted drinking and smoking next to Blueface, he mentioned on his show. He further underlined that those reckless choices are most likely the main cause of Junior's serious health problems now. Jason Lee even went so far as to claim that Blueface and Chrisean Rock's ongoing toxic back and forth created a poisonous atmosphere that would only make their child's circumstances worse. This last installment makes one thing glaringly clear. Officially, the tale is now a tragic reality rather than just a celebrity dispute. Discussion subjects have expanded beyond messy relationships and viral fights. This is concerning for the baby's future because stolen medical records attest to the infant's impairments and developing health problems. Blueface and Chrisean Rock are no longer the only subjects of attention. It depends on their parental choices, which might have prevented their son from starting life in excellent health. And that question haunts every viewer. Jason Lee is now encouraging Chrisean Rock to prioritize her son's health and future over her celebrity games. He's not wrong either. This isn't just another awkward hip-hop headline anymore. A child's life and well-being are on the line, therefore the stakes are rather high. Now, this is the important query. Has Chrisean Rock finally accepted reality and given her baby the care it needs? Or does she still maintain her denial while the internet scrutinizes every decision and action she takes? Fans are split, critics are more outspoken than ever, and the money keeps coming in. What do you think? Will her busy lifestyle continue to overshadow the most important things, or will she improve as a mother? The roar eventually subsides. Eventually, everything stops, including the yelling, the screenshots, and the timelines full with fury and opinions. And after that silence has finally subsided, there isn't a headline, a viral video, or another dispute between two damaged adults. What's left is a child who never wished to be born under a microscope where strangers would argue over every breath, every movement, and every delay. He also never chose this existence or the commotion that surrounded his entrance. At this point, the story loses its entertainment value and starts to seem awkward. It ceases to be a circus. It turns into a mirror showing how quickly we turn a blind eye when accountability challenges the narrative we've become, accustomed to reading, and how easily we normalize dysfunction when it's wrapped in celebrity. There is a distinction between trauma and accountability, as well as between struggle and neglect. Many people struggle to prevent the next generation from experiencing the same suffering because they come from dysfunctional homes. However, the pattern, the persistent failure to stop, to think, to put a child's needs ahead of pride, image, or rebellion is what makes this moment so weighty. The loudest voice in the room never bears the price when worry becomes denial and denial becomes deflection. The person with no voice pays it gradually and in silence. Consequences don't follow trends, even though the internet may change. They remain. Sympathy gets complicated at this point. Recognizing someone's suffering does not absolve them of the harm that untreated trauma causes. You can identify abuse and manipulation while still challenging decisions made later. Constantly defending oneself does not lead to growth. Pretending nothing is wrong does not lead to healing. Furthermore, genuine faith is meant to be a call to change rather than a means of evading responsibility. Hope without honesty turns into another avoidance tactic. And prayer without action is just another way to put off taking responsibility. The lack of haste where there ought to be urgency is what disturbs me the most about this chapter. Not the accusations, the leaks, or the arguments. There are no stops for children. Development doesn't wait for public sentiment to change. It becomes more difficult to reverse every missed milestone, postponed intervention, and disregarded warning. Additionally, the window for early care gradually closes as adults quarrel over who is to fault. That isn't drama. That is the truth. Furthermore, once time has passed, no amount of social media spin can change this fact. This situation raises an awkward question for everyone present as well as for the individuals involved. When does concern become accountability? When does watching start to get complicated? Because such tales don't exist in a vacuum. They are a reflection of a culture that glorifies disorder, exaggerates dysfunction, and views responsibility as an insult. And this story should unnerve people if it does. It's recognizable not because it's surprising. The speed at which pain turns into content is profoundly disturbing. How the health of a child can become a subject of conjecture, and how entertainment filters the implications of real life. Between comments and clicks, empathy is lost somewhere along the line. However, the reality is that a future is being constructed in real time behind every rumor and every document that has been leaked. A future that doesn't give a damn about who won the debate or dominated the story. A future that will bear the consequences of choices taken long before it was able to communicate or comprehend. What was going on in the world. Being accountable does not equate to being nasty. It is not hateful to ask questions. To be concerned is not to betray. Sometimes the strongest outcry is caused by truths that people are unwilling to face rather than lies. And the tendency to avoid the facts is heightened when a child is involved. However, deflection is not therapeutic. Damage cannot be fixed by image management. Additionally, being silent when action is required can be harmful in and of itself. This has nothing to do with punishment. Intervention, accountability, and the readiness to put suffering ahead of regret that cannot be undone later are key. The feeling that this story didn't have to go this far is what keeps it interesting. That several decisions may have altered the course of events. Spectacle might have been replaced with support. Chaos may have been replaced by care. However, pride has great power and denial is consoling until truth intrudes. Reality always does too. Initially, not loudly, but consistently. By way of omitted steps. Via questions that remain unresolved. Through an increasing number of what-ifs that are irreversible. Two names that tend to trend, whenever they collide, are no longer relevant. It is about the consequences of unbridled influence and unresolved trauma. When platforms expand more quickly than they mature. When vulnerability is interpreted as weakness and disobedience as power. The most depressing aspect is that those who make the most noise seldom bear the consequences of that miscommunication. It is paid discreetly in therapy rooms, doctors' offices, and private times that are hidden from the internet. The sounds will eventually subside. This controversy will be replaced by another. Attention will be diverted elsewhere by another headline. But real life, unvarnished and brutal, will go on long after the comments have stopped scrolling. Whether change occurs before it's too late is the only question that really counts. Whether duty ultimately triumphs over ego. If the future of a youngster takes precedence over the pride of an adult, the internet will provide such a response. It will result from activities carried out in private. At the end of all this noise, one uncomfortable truth remains standing when everything else collapses. This was never just another celebrity scandal meant to fill timelines for a few days before being replaced by the next viral distraction. This was a moment where entertainment crossed into consequence, where clicks turned into questions that no amount of deflection could erase. When the laughter stopped and the memes slowed down, what remained was not a brand, not a storyline, and not a rivalry, but a child whose life began under scrutiny, speculation, and silence. That is where the weight of this story truly settles. Not on social media debates. Not on who won the argument. Not on who told their side first. It settles on the reality that children do not get a second chance at early development. They do not get to pause their growth while adults argue, deny, or shift blame. They do not benefit from prayer without action, nor protection without responsibility. Time does not negotiate, and childhood does not rewind. This is the point where accountability becomes unavoidable. Because concern is no longer cruelty and asking hard questions is no longer harassment. When patterns repeat themselves, when warning signs are ignored, and when intervention is delayed, silence becomes participation. And that is what makes this moment so disturbing, not the accusations alone, but the hesitation to confront them honestly. Trauma can explain behavior, but it does not excuse neglect. Pain can contextualize choices, but it does not erase their impact. What makes this story even more sobering is how familiar it feels. We have watched this cycle before. Chaos turned into content, dysfunction reframed as authenticity, and responsibility dismissed as judgment. We cheer rebellion until rebellion harms someone who cannot defend themselves. Then suddenly, everyone wants to look away. But the truth does not disappear just because attention shifts elsewhere. Consequences live on quietly, far from timelines and trending tabs. This is where sympathy must grow up. It must stop being blind loyalty and start becoming protective accountability. Because real care does not mean pretending everything is fine when it clearly is not. Real care means uncomfortable conversations, professional intervention, and choices that prioritize a child's future over an adult's pride. Anything less is not love, it is avoidance. Eventually, the internet will move on. It always does. Another headline will replace this one. Another scandal will dominate the discourse. But the child at the center of this story will still be growing, still developing, still living with the outcomes of decisions made long before he could understand them. That is the part that never trends. That is the part no algorithm amplifies. And that is the part that matters most. So this is where the circus truly ends, not with applause or outrage, but with reflection. Reflection on how quickly we normalize dysfunction when it wears a familiar face. Reflection on how easily we confuse faith with deflection. Reflection on how much damage can be done when accountability is postponed for comfort. Because when the cameras turn off, when the comments stop refreshing, and when the noise finally fades, what remains is real life. And real life does not care about narratives. It cares about outcomes. This is no longer a story about fame, feuds, or followers. It is a story about responsibility, whether it is embraced now or avoided until it is too late. And that is the conversation that should never be ignored, as you are well aware. This story is far from finished, so feel free to express your opinions in the comments section. All of the fascinating updates will be delivered by us. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and press the notification bell